And every single one of them looked at me and they said, if I were you, I'd get out. I'm not even joking you. I'd get out. One guy, he's like, oh, you go through these hard times, and then that actually helps build your mental and helps when you push through it. Now you know, okay, it says pain is temporary. It may last a minute or an hour or a day or even a year, but eventually it will subside. And something else.
Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the Long-Term Podcast. I'm your host, Advin Villa. Today, we have videographer and entrepreneur Kaden Sczesny. We will discuss videography and business, fitness, and grief. Kaden has gone through a lot in the recent years, but he has used that as fuel to keep going and to use the tough times as lessons. He's a very strong individual, and he's got a great deal of wisdom to share with everyone today. Everyone, welcome. All right. Welcome to the Long-Term Podcast. Kaden Sczesny, everyone.
What's up?
Yeah.
How's it going?
How's your day, bro?
It's been good, man. Busy, but good.
Yeah.
So,
Photo shoot, eh?
well, I was filming for myself for Instagram, talking about like car mounting shots for my camera. So like mounting it on the hood and stuff like that. So it was, took like 3 hours, a little bit longer than I expected, but it was fun and
Yeah.
it's nice enough out. So,
Dude, it's beautiful outside, man.
yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm 25. I'm a videographer here in Edmonton, and I mainly manage social media content for companies as well as create it. So that is my whole gig, as well as doing some like brand content and stuff like that. I have a current project going on with a company called Graffiti Salad. They did a big Volkswagen bus mural. Where is it? It's just across the street from the ATCO building. And it's on this big, like 60-foot wall by, I think it's like 100 foot by 60 foot or something crazy like that. So it took a month to do, and I documented the whole thing. I actually got an interview tomorrow morning with him. So to kind of tie the whole video together, to kind of explain the process. And then, so yeah, that's about me. I enjoy fitness. I enjoy golf, cars, stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, how was, you said 1 month?
Yeah, it was a
It
whole
took
month.
for the project? And were you filming the whole thing?
Yeah, so I went out pretty much every day. Well, it was every day, if not every other day, I'd go out. And leading up to the project, actually, it was kind of funny. So it was a Friday morning, and I was sitting by the pond at my house, and I'm having a coffee, and randomly I got a message from Jordan, owner of Graffiti Salad, shout out.
Yeah.
And he randomly messaged me. He's like, yo, man, what are you doing next week? And I'm like, not much. I can take on a project. What's up? He's like, yo, I'm doing this big mural. This is very last minute. I'm sorry, man. Can you do it? I'm like, sure. So he hits me up, and actually I have to get my fall pro.
Yeah, fall safety protection.
Yeah. So I had to get my fall safe protection.
That's where you can go above like 10 feet.
Yeah,
right?
on like swing lifts and all that stuff. So I had to actually go get my certificate for that, so I could go on the lift on the wall with him. And then so I'm on the lift and swing set, and we're filming, and yeah, I flew my drone a bunch, and yeah, it was pretty much like a couple hours a day that I went
some
out.
drone action. Did you put your mounts on there? Any GoPro action?
No, those are FPV drones. I want one so badly. Those things are insane.
They get insane, man. The prices.
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing is too, is you can like dive bomb them and all that crap. You see those content creators on Instagram with them. I'm like, I don't know how the heck they do it.
Yeah. So when you have these projects and you're filming these people going about their creations, how do you envision it in production? How does that work? Do you just kind of take a bunch of scenes and then add them together and then kind of have the vision there, or do you have a vision prior to the creation?
Well, so going into the process, like I talk to the client and actually see what they're wanting. So for Graffiti Salad, we were looking for something that he could use to showcase what he does and like the pre-production, production of it, and then obviously the final result. So he could use it to show it on his website. So knowing that, I knew I was going into more static shots, not anything super like fast paced. That's where the interview comes in, so it can tie the whole story together. So a lot of it is run and gun when you're out there. Like obviously, I have a certain amount of like shot lists, right? Wide, close, up, everything like that. I need drone shots that I want to. I had an idea with the drone shots that I stacked them together. So I literally throughout the whole month got the same drone shot, and
Oh
so you
yeah.
can kind of. So I matched them up so it what's it called? You can see the progression of the
Oh, dude,
wall,
that's
but it's
dope.
all the same shot. So that's a little bit of like going in with a vision. There's only so much you can, but yeah.
Yeah. And then just compiling all the with each second, you could see the progression with each day. And it's so it's crazy because within these 30-second clips, hey, that's hours and hours of work and planning.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of work behind it all. So
Yeah. So what was the turning point that made you decide to leave your job at Toyota and pursue videography full time?
yeah, so a little bit of backstory is I was just out of high school. I was a stoner, like big. Didn't really do anything for probably like 8 months of my life. I played video games and smoked weed. That's what I did.
I relate.
And I mean, I know a lot of people go out of high school, they don't know what the heck they want to do, and I didn't. I went to Nate for one semester and kind of screwed around doing that. But yeah, I got a job at Toyota and I enjoyed it. I was there for 3 years, 4 years, and there was a lot of moments where I remember, say, there was a lot of moments that I remember I was wondering, is there more to life than just this? There's a lot of good experiences there, but I remember there's multiple times where I would be looking out of my bay, literally watching cars drive by, and be like, really, is there more to life than me sitting in this bay? Like, is this all that I can do?
Is this it?
Well, and that's it. And there was even like going home for lunch, hanging out with my cat outside. I'd only be able to hang out with her like 5 minutes, and then I'd have to go back, and I dreaded going back. Seeing people walking, like on going for a walk in the middle of the day in the middle of summer, I'm like, and I have to go back to work. I'm like, what are these people doing that they can allow to do that? Maybe they were just students, but I know people have jobs that allow them have the freedom to go do that. And so that was like the first moment that I really kind of understood maybe I should look for something more. And if I'm not happy with where I'm at. So I started screwing around. I did 3D animation for a little bit. I mean, I played lots of video games, so I streamed a little bit because I was already playing video games. So I was like, oh, why not?
Which video game?
Oh, I was playing Call of Duty at that time, League of Legends, Rocket League. What else? Oh, there's probably more, but
Yeah, dude, I was a big league guy.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Big bottom lane, Jinx main.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was big, Kog'Maw or whatever his name is.
Cosmo, yeah.
Oh, dude, I just loved when I died. I just run at people and explode, and I thought it was the funniest thing. I'm like, yeah.
Dude, no, he was OP back when I left off.
Oh
But
yeah.
so after high school, you had gone through a period where you didn't really know what to do, and just video games and smoking weed. And I'm sure many guys, man, relate.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of
100%.
the just for guys that don't know what they want to do. Majority of guys, that's usually where you end up going. And so was your job in Toyota kind of the first real job, you would say? More the one that's passionate?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like I worked at the golf course for 4 or 5 years before that, but that was just a summer job that I had throughout high school. And I worked both jobs throughout that summer. Like I worked like 14 hours a day. I would have like 3 months where I just literally worked. There was no days off. I just worked every single day, whether it was at Toyota, at the golf course, or both. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was a big grind. But yeah, I would say Toyota was actually the first job that it was like, okay, if I stay here, at least I'm putting myself in a situation where I move forward. And like that was the biggest thing for me. I need some water, holy macaronis.
And then the more effort you put in with the job at Toyota, hey, the more you're gonna bear the fruits of your labor. Because I know with commission, it's much more exponential.
Yeah. So if I stayed at being a tech, um, you get a journeyman ticket, and yeah, you can go flat rate and make 150 grand a year, which is really good. But you are a machine. Like, I knew guys that were making 150 grand plus a year, but they were grinding. Like, it was a different level of grind. And like, when you're young, whatever. But I remember some guys there, they'd ask me, they're like, "Why are you doing this?" The older guys, "Why are you doing this?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't really know what else to do, so I'm just doing this. At least it puts me in a thing." And every single one of them looked at me and they said, "If I were you, I'd get out." I'm not
Yeah.
even joking you. I'd get out. One guy, he's like, "Oh, you don't want to be like me." And I was like, "What do you mean?" This guy was super nice, like one of my favorite guys there.
Yeah, you're making all this money. Why don't I want to
Yeah,
be
I'm
like
like, "You're a
you?
good guy." I'm like, "What do you mean I don't want to be like you? You're positive all the time." He's like, "Yeah, but," he goes, "when I go home," he's like, "I don't want to do anything." He goes, "I don't have energy to do anything. I don't have energy to work on my car. I don't have energy to do the things that I like to do." And he goes, "Because I'm so burnt out here." And I was like, "Oh, like, I see what you mean." I'm like, "Okay, he agrees that he's a good guy. He just like, get out of this." So yeah, there was those moments. And I remember there's this one pinnacle moment that this is the moment that I knew I needed to get out. I was already doing car edit stuff and screwing around with cameras a little bit at this time. So I was filming cars with my buddies and stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun, but I didn't know that I could make money with it. And the one moment that made me turn everything and really go, okay, if I can make money with videography, I need to get out now, was I remember I was working late one night and it was a Friday night. I worked from 7 a.m. and I was there till 9 p.m.
Wow.
I worked all day long at the shop. And I remember the lights turned off on me. And I already had a bad day. Like, I didn't have lunch, didn't have dinner. Like, I was hungry, I was tired, I was stressed out because this job needed to be done the next day. And I remember the lights turned out on me. And I wish I saved the video, because I filmed a video on Snapchat and sent it to a bunch of people, and I didn't save it. But I remember the shakiness in my voice and how upset I was and how bothered I was that, it's Friday night. I'd rather be at home playing games or hanging out with my girlfriend or whatever, right? And I'm here, the lights just got turned off on me and I'm stressed out and I just didn't feel appreciated and I wasn't making any money. So I was like, what am I doing here? Like, done. And yeah, that was the moment that I made the decision that, okay, I need to figure something out. So I think within the next month is when I quit my job.
It's often the times where we put in so much effort and we feel underappreciated, and then we sacrifice the entire day for an endeavor, or and we're just pushed to follow a different path. Because had you kept following that path and you thought about having to go through that again and again and again, sure, you can, like, I've put in 12, 14-hour days too, and it's actually building something. But you can tell when an endeavor, the pursuit of, whether it be money or whether it be about your status and the gym, right? You can just tell at the core that it's not building you up. That, oh, it's not you feel that lingering thought of, okay, why don't I pursue what I actually wanted to do?
Yeah.
Right? And had you not made that step and kept staying there, then one day you'd be stuck. Because right now you're a single guy, right? You, or no kids, right?
No
Not
kids.
married.
Not single
So
guy.
not single guy, but a guy with no, I don't know, baggage, right? You can start
Yeah.
your own business and there's nobody's really relying on you.
Well, and that's it, right?
But that's that's why we gotta keep finding the direction that aligns with the values and what actually speaks to us, right? Because I see this with a lot of people too, and I've worked in construction after high school and putting in those 12-hour days of grueling work, and then just you feel productive at the end of the day, but then driving home, I always thought that I was capable of something much more.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You know that feeling when you're driving home and you're just, it's calling out for you.
I know
Like that,
exactly what you're
like
feeling, man.
and it's soul crushing. It's not necessarily you're tired, because there's days where you don't get enough sleep. There's days where you do get sleep, but it's that feeling of being stuck and just fearing that, oh, this is what the future entails for decades on end, right? And then seeing coworkers that are much older, and sure, they may be making a lot of money, but then they don't get to see their kids. They're a lot of them are divorced, and their wives are just, they're not connected. You know, it's just, yeah. And eventually you realize that, oh, if I keep going down this route, it's going to crush me, you know?
Well, and that's the biggest thing is like, I remember putting in all that time, and it wasn't building something for myself. It never felt like I was building something for me. We're putting all this time into the business. I know it's for me. And I think that's where, like, you get that it just, even if it doesn't work right away, you know that, okay, if I put all this work in, I'm building something for myself. And that's where, I don't know, the passion and the excitement comes from for me. Cause otherwise it's like, okay, I can grind 10 hours, 12 hours a day. I'll do it 100% for somebody else. But at the end of the day, I don't ever feel nearly as accomplished as if I do it for myself, where I just feel way better. And I still feel like I have energy at the end of the day, where I'm like, okay, I just put 10 hours in, and I'm like, yeah, I could still go do a bunch of stuff because I'm not mentally dead. And I mean, if I'm not physically doing anything, I'm just chilling and editing on a computer. I can go to the gym and do whatever, right? But it's like I have energy. I'm excited for the day and excited to wake up and excited to keep going, right?
Yeah, you wake up and you're looking forward to the projects that is building toward you and then the company that you've built. You're actually leaving a mark and creating something block by block, slowly. And sure, it's not grand at the start. You know that one day it will come, and you'll just look back and you'll realize just how far you have come. Can you share more about one of the most memorable or challenging videography projects you've worked on?
Yeah. So the most challenging that I've had would be last November. I guess wow, that's almost a year ago. That's wild. Is West Edmonton Mall Volkswagen hit me up for a project to do a big banner in their mall, in the mall right on Bourbon Street, and that was the most challenging. There was a lot of learning involved with that. One, sitting down with like the what would his name? Well, I know his name. What would his position be? It wouldn't be the CEO. Oh gosh, there's like the general manager, and then maybe the director or whatever. The guy that's
Some
above
guy
the
in the
GM.
executive
Yeah, he's
council.
like the owner of the building, the owner of Volkswagen, West Edmonton Volkswagen, and or a partner. And you're sitting in this, and you go in and you sit down in this meeting at the big boardroom. And I remember when I worked at Sherwood Motorcars, I always wanted to be sitting at that table. I was like, I got all these good ideas. I want to share, right? And so they'd have all their things. But then there was the moment that I actually sat down there, and it's scary as hell. It is the scariest thing ever, because all these people, they have a lot more money than you. They have a lot more knowledge than you in at least like the car area. So and it almost feels like they got more prestige, right? Because I'm like, okay, I'm 20. I was 24-year-old kid, videography. It's kind of still the first year of my business. And now I'm sitting at the table with like the head guys, right? And they wanted me to build this banner for West Edmonton Volkswagen at the mall. And I did it. It took about a month. And there was a lot of learning of After Effects and learning like all the brand guidelines and all that stuff to actually put the thing together to make it look good in the mall. Because I was like, dude, I'm making something that when I'm walking through the mall, I'm looking at all these other ads and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, that's sick, right? I'm like, I wonder how many people made that. Well, just me made this one, but it was like, yeah, that was super challenging. There was a lot of learning involved. Negotiating was a big thing too, learning about that. Like, it was a lot of crazy stuff, contracts too.
There's all these things that come out at you, hey, because there's the videography side of things, but then on top of that, you got to edit and you got to make sure it aligns with what they envision.
Well, that, and it's even like the sales point of it. Like, you got to sell yourself. Like, I know what I'm doing, but if I don't sound confident with what I'm doing, why would they trust me? Why would they want me? Right? Like, it makes no sense. If I come in there, I'm like, oh yeah, well, I don't know, and I'm all like shaky,
curved back, and you're just not. You're really nervous, and you're just coming off like it's your very first project ever. Why would they hire you when they could get someone that's better? You have to really present yourself and market yourself like you're the best ever that they'll come across.
Well, it's just having the confidence to know that like you can do it. I think that's the biggest thing is like, if I didn't have the confidence and know that I could do it, there's no way I'd sound confident with myself. There's no way I'd sound confident walking into that room. But knowing through fitness, through everything like that has pushed me.
Yeah.
That is where I'm like, okay, I know I can figure this out. I know I can learn it. I know I can actually achieve it. And then I go ahead and I do it. So
yeah, there's this that reminds me of this one quote I just read actually. And kind of when people tell you go to, when you're going to a battle, whether it be about sports, whether it be a business meeting, if you're already walking in with a losing mentality, it's never going to go well.
Yep.
A person who doubts himself is like a man who would enlist in the ranks of his enemies and bear arms against himself. He makes his failure certain by himself being the first person to be convinced of it, by Alexander Dumas. And it's like, if you go in anything and you're already thinking of the worst possible outcome and thinking that's gonna happen, it just might. It probably will. Because the times I've been in that loser mentality where, oh, why would they choose me? Oh, this, I probably shouldn't do it. And then you kind of flip-flop and waffle between the losing mentality and doubting yourself. It never works out.
No, it doesn't.
Because if you go to battle losing, you've already, with the losing mentality, you've already lost before it even started.
Yeah. You lose before you even actually encounter anything. Yeah. Because I remember talking about quotes. I don't know who said this quote. Wow. My throat is dry today.
Oh yeah.
It is, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right.
Henry Ford.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know who said it, but I remember that is one quote that has stuck with me.
Yeah,
for a long time. Yeah. And well, it's exactly like that, right?
Yeah. Whether you're right or wrong, you're right.
Yeah. You might.
Yeah.
If you don't, and that's the thing. Like, if you say you can't do it, you're probably right.
Yeah. What has been the biggest lesson you've learned in running your own business, especially during the early struggles?
Oh gosh, there's so many. There is so many. To never give up. That is honestly the biggest one. Cause like, man, last year was a roller coaster, and especially trying to start my own business was wild. Like the first 7 months, 8 months, I made about maybe $1,500 a month, maybe $1,500, $2,000 a month. Like, that was it. And it covered my expenses, right? And covered that. Okay, I could have $100 to go screw around with if I really wanted to, but I was also putting so much money back into camera gear and stuff like that. It was okay, wait, the question again. I got totally sidetracked.
It's all good, bro. Yeah. What has been the biggest lesson you've learned in running your own business, especially during the early struggles?
Okay, so not giving up, right? The early struggles and what's the biggest lesson? The biggest lesson to myself, yeah, just not giving up. I was going through a really hard time last year. I we'll go a little bit into this. I lost 3 grandparents to lung cancer out of a relationship that was 5 years long. And
Sorry to
then on
hear, man.
top of that, I was making no money. And so there was a lot of things. It was just like boom, boom. I remember one day my sister was asking me, she's like, "How are you doing?" And I was like, "It just feels like a rocket launcher is just blasting me every time I'm about to get up. Like
Yeah.
every time I was about to get, boom, there's another one, right?" And but I remember in those moments, when I woke up in the morning, didn't matter whether I had 3 hours of sleep or 8 hours of sleep. It was I had to get up and do what I had to do every single day, no matter how I felt. And that is actually what put me through. Because if I relied on, okay, yeah, I was obviously grieving a whole lot, and I just let that hold me back from doing all the work I needed to do, I would have not have succeeded in that. I'd probably be back being a tech, not gonna lie. Um, and that is the biggest thing. So for the first, 8 months, I made no money. I was going through all this loss, and my mind was literally a whirlwind. The gym was my temple. I would go sometimes twice a day. It was wild. I'd do like legs in the morning and then arms at night, and it was like people be like, "Man, how's it going?" I'm like, "Good. Second time here today."
Yeah.
I looked crazy to people. It was actually kind of funny, but yeah, because I remember it was was it July? It was either July or August. I think it was August is when I started to I made like 4 grand in a month, right? That was my next high after like two. And I was like, "Oh, dude, no way." And then yeah, in November, I over doubled that. And that was my first time ever making over 10 grand a month. And I freaked out. I didn't know what was going on. It was like I blinked, and the first 8 months of my life, or the first 8 months of my business, I didn't know what was going on, and I was learning all these things, and then all of a sudden it was like momentum came, and then I started feeling good, and I was like, "Oh crap, here we go." I'm like, "Okay, I'm feeling good. I'm still grieving all this loss, but my business is starting to do good." And then I wasn't stressing out about that, and it all comes down to not giving up. Because I remember when I quit my job before this, I my boss asked me, she says, "How do you know you're not going to fail?" And I said this to her. I said, "If I don't quit, I will never fail. I can't fail." And so I lived by that. That was my rule. If I don't quit, I can't fail at this. And that is so far true, which is nice. And yeah, so like you're going to go through rough times. Like obviously I had way slower months, and like everything goes like this, and it's fine. But in those slower months, I didn't give up. I continued to go. It picked back up again, and then continued to grow into more clients and everything like that. So yeah, it's pretty wild to talk about it again. I haven't talked about
Yeah.
this in a hot minute. So
Yeah, sorry you had to go through it, but congratulations on the success that you've seen in the recent months.
yeah,
It's
I
truly incredible to have a person go through unimaginable circumstance like you have gone through and still engage in the business, personal fitness, and just moving forward. And that really resonates with me with going forward despite how you're feeling, whether you're on your breaking point and the world's on your back. It's just so heavy, and each step feels like you're wearing 100 pounds on your ankles. But once those days pass where you don't feel as burdened, life becomes so easy.
100%, because
Yeah.
because when you're like,
Mhm.
take it for instance, like maybe 2 months ago, I was like, "Oh, this is hard or something. I
No,
some stupid
I've
thing.
been through worse.
Yeah, and I went,
Yeah.
and I remember I went, okay, 1 year ago, I'm like, no, this is nothing compared to what last year was like. I'm like, this is like a cakewalk, man. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So it's good to have a reminder that, right? And obviously, I think that's also the thing that comes off with confidence too, is, you go through these hard times and then that actually helps build your mental and helps when you push through it. Now, okay, I can get through something like this. I understand what hard feels like and what loss and all this other stuff that you kind of go through in that process, so that when something else hard comes up, you can actually get through it.
Yeah. And you reflect back to the moments where it felt like you were in your wit's end, but then you got through it. You slept on it, or you hit the gym, or you still edited that video. A mistake happened and maybe the video stopped rolling. You still found a solution despite that lingering feeling in the back of your head of inadequacy, of grief, of just questioning whether this video will work out, or that sales pitch that you have to go and do. All that coming together. And so when you wake up one day and you go, I got some pretty good sleep, and actually I'm not thinking that much about kind of the loved ones that have passed, this feels lighter. And it's a win-win in all days, because on the days where it is easy, then okay, I've experienced bad, this is great, I can just keep going, I can just go to the gym. Or in the days when it's hard, you just go, I've experienced immense fatigue and immense just discombobulation and deep sorrow and deep worrying and fear. Today ain't so bad. I can get through it, right? And so every day you're sharpening the mind. And even the Goggins, Goggins.
Oh yeah, I know Goggins.
He has this 40% rule of just when you think you're done, you're only 40% in what your body's capable of doing. That's just the limits we put on ourselves. And you had mentioned fitness too. I see you at Millennium, man. You go hard, hey?
Yeah, I
twice a day.
I used to. Not anymore. Not anymore. Yeah. I kept hurting myself, and I was like, I was going twice a day.
Yeah.
Then I was going 7 days a week, just no breaks.
Yeah.
And then after that, and then I messed my shoulder up, and I was like, maybe rest is good.
Good for the mind, bad for the body.
Literally, was 7 days a week, great for the mind.
Yeah.
Body was deteriorating a little bit.
How has fitness helped you build the discipline and mental strength needed to succeed as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I remember when I started working out, I was a young lad, ripe age of 21. Yeah, that's 3 years ago. No, that's 4 years ago. I was 22. It was right after COVID. It is totally helped everything in the entrepreneur space. I think the biggest thing is like knowing how to deal with stress. Because you put your body through stress, you got to push yourself at the gym. When you think, again, like Goggins says, when you think you're done, you ain't done, man. You got more. There's been moments this morning, exactly this morning. I remember I was doing pec flies, and I hit 10 reps, and it's like my body was like shutting off, and I went, no, I'm not shutting off, and boom, pushed. I got like another 4 reps in, and I was like. And I was about to give up at 10 and I went 14. So it's like understanding that the physical aspect of it, it's not just so much physical strength. It's very much, for me, about mental strength. Creating that discipline on the days you don't want to go, doing the things you don't want to do. I don't want to do Bulgarian split squats ever. I hate them. But guess what? They're damn good for your legs. So I do them like I love them. And there's a lot of things in business that I don't want to do, like sitting down and keeping track of everything for tax season. I don't want to do it. It's boring, but it's part of the business. You got to do it, and you got to do it like you love it, because everything is in this like big bubble. And if you don't do it, you're just going to fail or fall way behind, and then it's just going to get screwed up.
Yeah, if you go with what is easy for you, with what you like to do all the time, and certainly there's the passions, and it's great to have an occupation, start a business that you are passionate about, but they can only take you so far.
Yeah.
There are going to be the days when you hit your workout where, okay, I don't want to go, and if you just go with those feelings, and it's a different difference between discipline and motivation, right? Discipline, you can get through the toughest of times, and you go through the death of a loved one, you go through a breakup, you go through a divorce, somebody was rude to you and it just really took a bite at your core. You don't feel like doing anything, but you still go. But then there's motivation where, okay, you see a video and you're really inspired and you just go just because you want to go.
Yep.
But discipline can trumps motivation 10 times out of 10, because
1,000 times.
Yeah, because you're just it's not going to feel 100% every day. There's just going to be tough days, and that's just the reality of it.
Motivation is so temporary. Like,
yeah,
I used to rely on doing things when I was motivated, and man, when I'm motivated, I am to the walls, getting there done, right? No problem. Like, boom, let's go. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
But then guess what? It wears off. And then I would go into this slump. It was like a week of, I was like locked in, having a blast. This is at the beginning. I was like 1 week locked in, no matter what, super motivated. And then it was like 2 weeks, 3 weeks of like, I didn't want to do anything. And because I didn't have the discipline, I wasn't doing a whole lot. And then that's why my business didn't really move forward, I think, in my largest opinion. I just didn't want to do it because I wasn't motivated. But once I realized, okay, I need to stop relying on motivation and actually build discipline around this to do the things on the day I don't want to wake up and go do it. Because not every day do I want to go edit a video. Not every day do I want to go film. I love doing it. But not every day do I want to just like, I'm motivated. I get up and I'm like, let's go. The rockets are going. Let's make it happen. It's, discipline is like I think the biggest thing that anybody could have. If there's one thing that anybody should have, it's discipline. If you can figure out how to form discipline, you will exceed everything you thought you could imagine.
Yeah. It's not eating that cookie. It's not going out when you want to. Instead, staying in bed and getting your full 8-9 hours of sleep to get ahead into whatever you're doing. And that's just, it has to align with your goals too. Because you can't just, you need to be following something. And kind of the systems in place, they're designed to help you with that. And the discipline is the foundation for all that, all the habits that you cultivate, and even going towards passions. And I'm sure you would resonate with this too. And it's from the guy, the CEO of Apple. Yeah. He goes, there's a saying that if you find what you're passionate about, then you'll never work a day in your life. But that is total crock. You'll find the passions that you will work hard for, and you'll work harder than you ever thought was possible, but the tools will feel lighter in your hands.
Yeah, later.
And sure, you can be passionate about that endeavor, but certainly you'll just want to work harder. And there are going to be days where those passions don't feel as rejuvenating. Because even with this podcast, at the start, I was like, oh, wow, like it's so new. I got to work hard at it. And I felt so driven the first 10 episodes and the 20 episodes. And over time, it's starting to weigh at me. And there's school and there's events that I want to do. And I want to go to the gym earlier. But then this is also discipline, because what is it? Like 90% of all podcasts don't reach past episode 3. And then I think 90% of that, don't quote me on that, 90% of that don't reach past episode 21.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
Yeah, and that's with businesses too, and the restaurants that are family owned, that are with anything, with working out,
Yeah.
people just stop, man.
Oh, 100%.
Like, and
What I always say when first going to the gym is the first 2 weeks to month is the hardest. You feel like crap after the gym because you're sorer than a, I don't even know how to explain it. You feel sick how sore you can be. And then you don't want to go because of how sore
you can't move.
You literally can't move. And that's actually the funniest thing. I remember when I first was going to the gym, I remember hit legs the first time. And for 3 days after, I couldn't walk. I was like hobbling around like an old man. And I'm like, why do I do this to myself? And now I'm like, and then even now, I was kind of being lazy the last, I would say 2 months. I haven't really gone a whole lot. It's okay. It is what it is. I was working. I am not going to be hard on myself on that. But I did legs, and yeah, it was the same thing. 3 days, man. Every time I sat down, I was like, oh right, yeah, I forgot about this feeling. When you don't go for a while, it's like,
yeah,
just
it's
painful.
the pain, man. It's insurmountable.
But it also feels so good. Like, dude, when I'm there and I'm squatting, just lifting the weight, I don't know what it is. It's like just a free dopamine hit every time you squat and get it up. I'm like, yeah.
yeah. That the hard work and the feeling of the muscles just tearing apart. You know you're getting work in and you're getting those
100%.
gains.
Yeah.
And going back to failures too, it's coming back day after day, hey, hitting those squats, hitting the bench, and it's all the same motion. But every day is different, because the one day you go, maybe it's just before a business meeting. The next day you go, maybe there's a project that you need to prioritize, so you only have 30 minutes to go. And it's like prioritizing, but still making the time to go. And you had mentioned that you haven't gone for 2 months. It's going back to it, just you don't stop. And sure, a lot of people will go, oh, since it's been 2 months, I might as well go 3 or 4, but you got to cap it off sometime.
Oh, 100%. Because man, that 2 months will turn into a year real fast. You'll blink and you'll be like, oh yeah, man, it's what, October? It's midway through October already. And let me tell you, I don't believe how fast this year has gone by. Like, I swear I blinked and I'm like, man, it's getting cold out again. I'm like, what the heck?
Hey, bro, the days are long, but the years are short.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, goes by in the blink of an eye.
What Gary Vee says. He goes, it doesn't matter what you do in the macro. The micro is what matters. He's like, you can have this big goal and the big dream in the macro, but he goes, everything in the micro, day by day. He goes, what you do today is what actually matters, not what you do in a year.
I love that guy's energy, bro.
Oh, I know. Gary, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I know. He gets me enthralled. He gets me so motivated to just start and to keep going. And the advice that he gives, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, the posting like 15 times a day, it's easier when you have a team behind to do it. I don't know about one
he's
guy.
Like Snapchat, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, leverage all of it.
15
TikTok.
times a day, man. You got to be posted.
Like, okay, but then the quality just gets drastically reduced. In what ways do you think physical fitness and mental resilience go hand in hand, especially in your personal and professional life?
I'd say the confidence. It's made me way more confident, way more comfortable with myself. When I was younger, I didn't ever wear like a tank top. I used to play basketball. That was great, except for the fact that I was a small, short kid, and I would just get my face stuffed with a basketball every time because I just couldn't do it. It's funny, but I remember this actually one time. I was playing basketball. I was at Holy Spirit. I was playing basketball, and the kid next to me asked me. He goes, "Why do you wear a t-shirt underneath your like jersey?" And I said, because nobody wants to see my small arms. That was my thing.
You're just keeping it real with the kid.
Yeah. And he goes, nobody cares. I said, oh yeah. But it was more me. I didn't feel comfortable with how small I was. And ironically now it's like I'll wear a stringer to the gym and I'm like, yeah, I love it. I'll wear a tank top all day long. I'll be shirtless outside. I don't care. I love it. It's hilarious. But the confidence that getting bigger and pushing myself has given me is unreal. There's so many times I remember when I first started working out, I was, again, right, small kid, whatever. I was 115, 120 pounds. And I remember looking at a bunch of the guys in the gym, the bigger guys. I was like, oh yeah, one day I'd like to be like that. I was still insecure. About it. I was like, oh, I hope nobody's looking at me, blah, blah, blah. But I remember looking and I said, one day I'm going to be like that. One day. If I just keep going, it's going to have to happen. And I remember it was last year. I remember there was these two kids that were at the gym. They're probably 17, 16, smaller guys. And they were looking at me and I could tell that they were looking at me and I was like, huh. And then I'm like, oh, I wonder what it was. So I just went over there. I was like, hey guys, what's up? And they were asking if I could help them with leg press because they were doing like no weight and they kept looking at me. So I just went over there and I was like, okay, I'm like, okay, I said, put 25 pounds on. They're like, oh, I can't do that. And I was like, yeah, you can. Dude, I put the 25 on. He did it. No problem. He's like, oh. I'm like, okay, throw 45 on. He looked at me like I was crazy. Dude, this kid, I've never seen so much energy out of somebody. This kid, I think, pumped like 12 reps on the 45. And he was like a small kid. And I just remember the smile on his face. He was super hyped, super happy. And I was like, yeah, gave him a fist bump. Have a good one, guys. And at that moment, I realized I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I used to be the kid that would be like, I was too afraid to ask for help or nobody would come up to me. But I was like, oh shit, I'm the guy.
You're the guy now. You're him.
Yeah. And I was like, damn. And that made me like so just proud of myself. And then that has kind of just shaped everything in my personal life with business and everything like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, if I look at these guys and I'm like, okay, if I do this, if I see, what do these guys do? They work hard. They have a plan. They put it into action. And they're consistent. Well, then I should get to that. Because if that's what successful people do, then there's no reason why I shouldn't get that. If I'm not doing it, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But if I do all these things, 90% chance I'm going to hit it. And so, yeah, it's kind of just like a thing. And then when you look back, you can be super proud of yourself and just be hyped. And
those are the best wins, hey? The unspoken triumphs of just, you can't really put it into kind of tools or kind of monetary value, kind of the confidence that you do feel after having this goal in mind, of that confidence that you're going to hit once you have this body, and then it finally happens and you realize just you never expected it. And sure, you had this plan that you will look like this one day.
oh
you
yeah,
execute it, but then you just go day by day. You just never lose that hope. And then you realize that win, you cash it in, you go, whoa, like this is me now. I think I've created the identity of someone that follows what they promise themselves, and you build that rapport with yourself and you triumph.
well, and that's it. I think Alex Hermonze has a quote. I'm not going to be able to quote it exactly, but
Yeah.
it said something about you're not going to get, you don't get, what is it? It's, you don't get motivation or confidence by shouting affirmations in the mirror at yourself. positive affirmations at the mirror.
I have this written down.
But it is, you have this one written down? Yeah. But it's backed by all of the extremely hard work that you've done.
Yeah. But the stack of undeniable proof.
That, yes.
Yeah. Because you can look in the mirror and go, yeah, I'm confident. Yeah, I'm a beast. But if you don't do anything, why would people follow your advice? Why would you trust yourself if all you do is scream affirmations? You have to practice what you preach. And by doing that, you acquire results. And results require action. And
a lot of it.
There's all these I'm sure you're big into the self-help space too, where meditation and fitness and having a positive mind and gratitude. But all of that is worthless unless you have that trustworthy, loving relationship, having those tough talks and putting in the effort to be there for someone in the good and the bad. That's your proof for you are a person that's compassionate. You are a person, a friend that will be there in times of despair. In the gym, okay, you have a good body. You have gone through the times where you've been tested, where you didn't want to go, when you're just going through a breakup, when you had 4 hours of sleep and you couldn't go back to sleep despite trying, and you still went. And maybe it wasn't good for the body, but still good for the mind. You still went. And that's the proof to yourself. And you don't have to convince someone that, oh, you are good in business. It's just there. And one day, that's relating that back to business too. Why would they hire you? And sure, at the start, you kind of have to sell yourself. But over time, once you have these projects building up, they'll just be able to look at your portfolio and go, this guy is someone we want, and we pitch to him.
Yeah, well, exactly. Because you have all the proof there, right? And then that backs where you have confidence walking into a room, and because you know what the heck you're doing and you've done it 100 times before. It's like, it's actually funny. My girlfriend, she's a photographer, and when we first started dating, I remember she was getting on a client call, and this was, I don't know, 6-7 months ago. And she's like, you could tell that she was nervous. And it was kind of funny because I was sitting there and I didn't care. I was like, yeah, do your thing, whatever. And she was kind of nervous, and you could kind of tell that she was stuttering a little bit. Where fast forward till now, she's on a client call pretty much almost every day. And you can hear the confidence now that she's done it 100 times. She has a process. She goes through. She's just flowing, easy money, no worries, right? And it's kind of funny to look and see it in someone else rather than just yourself, right? Because you can't really tell with yourself until it's like way down the road, and then you kind of look back and you're like, oh right, I was like this. But when you're like sitting there and you're observing it, you're like, oh yeah, I can tell you're like way more confident. Like I was literally just telling her, I was like, yeah, you're like super confident on the phone. You're just so relaxed, you're chilling. And I'm like, yeah, that's why people want to work with you all the time. Like, because they like what you do.
It's like seeing a niece or nephew or like a family member they haven't seen in 5 years. And then the difference is so obvious versus kind of the gradual progression. Since you're with yourself all the time, you can't notice the tiny little shifts and maybe the cadence of your voice or maybe the particular word that you use, the eradication of those filler words, the comfort and being able to be comfortable with those pauses. Communication is an art, man. And sure, she's probably gone through, the mental framework as to how to go about the clientele and the system she has in place. It's, you don't notice it because even with editing, right? At the start, it's like, how do I get the background to be blurred or to be saturated? And then you go on YouTube and you search up for all these things, and it's so easy now. And then once you find it, we find a solution. It's like, oh, it was just that button. But
Yeah,
then you
literally.
actually had to work for it, and that's just ingrained. And I'm sure
Yeah.
you have a bunch of stories like that when it comes to every single feature and whatever software you use.
Oh, dude, it's actually kind of funny. I remember, so when I went to Nate back when I was like 18, 19, I went for the one semester. I took video editing class and I failed it. I hated it and I failed it, man. Ironically, that's all I do now. But it's so funny because
Yeah.
in that class, I got nothing. I didn't pick anything up. I was like, whatever, I didn't care. But now, then I started making car edits and exactly what you said. How do I do this? Well, I went on YouTube, learned it. Dude, I watched the same video probably 15 times before I
And
understood.
pausing it, putting it in slow mo. It's like,
Literally.
how, I can't see that button. What is it? Is this the new version? Is
Yeah.
this? Yeah.
And that's actually the cool thing is like there's so much information now. you dude, the internet, you utilize the internet, you can learn anything for free. It's just finding the information. So it's like for me it was how do I track this text on this video so it literally moves with the subject? Well, you go in and type it, and then it's like, how do I do this on After Effects? And then it literally shows you a 17-minute video exactly how to do it. And I mean, takes you 2 hours to do the effect when you're first doing it. But now it's like, yeah, it takes me about 20 minutes to do or 15 minutes to do. And I know exactly how to track everything and do it. So it's, yeah, anybody can learn anything nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's pretty
It's
cool.
just learning to go through the tedious phase of just monotonous work.
Well, that and sucking at it.
Yeah.
You
and
gotta,
and-
when you're first starting something, man, you gotta understand you're gonna be bad at it.
and doubting yourself the whole time, and then seeing if you and questioning yourself whether you even did it right. But then it passes and you just you don't have to search up anything. In fact, you make it your own and you become better at it. You could make your own tutorials.
Well, and that's exactly it. A guy I worked with, he talks about when he first started creating content. I mean, he's been creating content for a very, very long time, but he talks about stealing like an artist. So when you're first starting something and you don't know where the heck to start, go on Instagram or say for creating content, go on Instagram and, okay, I see this video. What do they do? Okay, just steal it. Like literally, just do exactly what they did. And you hear this actually a lot with a lot of YouTubers is that they copy a lot of people's styles, like Peter McKinnon's style for people in photography and videography.
See that with Mr. Beast? There's a bunch of little Mr. Beasts popping off.
Dude, and that's exactly is it. They all stole this framework, exactly how to do XYZ, and then it slowly morphs into their own style. And the reason why it does that is, okay, their videos might not be good or they're not going to pop off, but they're making the content and they're making stuff. And that's the thing is that they're doing it and consistently over time, it's going to slowly morph into something that is more them and they're going to have their own flow. They're not going to have to steal because now they're like, well, now I have all these ideas. I've already figured out the process to how to do this. And then they can make it genuinely their own. And over time, it will slowly correct to that. But at the beginning, you see a lot of YouTubers, a lot of people have the exact same kind of style. If you like look at a big YouTuber, you'll notice a lot of smaller YouTubers have the same style as a big YouTuber. The reason why is they're getting the motivation and the inspiration off of them. And they're taking a lot of ideas off of them. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, because guess what? They're doing it. And over time, they're going to make their own style and they're going to get more comfortable in front of the camera. And then it's going to be like, oh, well, today I'm just, instead of doing this shot where like, say, for instance, this camera's here, you'd move it over here or something like that. So now you'd have two cameras, right? And it's like, oh, I'm going to try something new. And then that's where it slowly evolves into their own thing. And that's the kind of cool aspect of that. So
yeah, it's beautiful, man. The content creation and just going about it day by day and consistency.
Consistency.
But yeah, it's nuts. They're good buddies.
I have
They're good
no
guys.
Snapchat scores.
Yeah,
Zero.
Yeah, dude, it's a waste of time.
I'm not a Snapchatter anymore.
Yeah, me too, man. I've actually just stopped the captionless pics. And do you ever do that with Snap?
Where you just like take a photo just to respond?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
People still do that, and
Dude.
we're in our mid-20s, bro. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I wonder what my Snap score is. It's probably still sub 100,000. I think it's like 80K or something.
Good, man. That means you're doing something good with your time.
Dude, there was one. I remember there was one chick that added me, and her score was like 2.5 million, and I was like, "What do you do with your life?" I'm like thinking
that's like gaming for 12 hours every day, but on Snap.
Yeah, I was like, you would literally gotta take a thing and just select all, send, and have like 500 people on there.
That's so bad.
I don't understand it. Hey, you know what? Hey, to each their own. I don't get it.
Yeah.
That's fine if you that's you. No judgment. Whatever.
No, I'm judging.
No, I'm judging.
I'm
Hard
judging.
judge.
I'm judging, bro. How did you manage to keep moving forward through the difficult period of loss and relationship challenges?
Yeah. So, purpose. Having purpose, literally. There was a lot of times where I was gonna I wanted to give up, but I knew I couldn't. Having purpose was I think the biggest thing that allowed me to push through everything. Like obviously through the grandparents passing away, relationship problems and ending and everything like that. There was it was just getting up every day, doing what you need to do as a man and getting it done. And I remember, I don't know how much you like Andrew Tate, but I agree with some of the things he says. And a lot of it is on the mentality and the work ethic and be a man, get up every day and do the job that you're supposed to do. It doesn't matter how you feel. As your job as a man is, if you feel unhappy or happy or whatever, you get up and you do the same thing that you're supposed to do every single day and you get it done. Doesn't matter. And that's and I guess that comes down to like being disciplined too. But I literally lived on, I guess, motivation talk for the longest time. My Instagram feed was just that. I'd be at the gym and that would be I would just scroll on. I wouldn't watch it. I would literally have it in my pocket. Sometimes I do this to the day, but I'll have it in my pocket and I'll just flip it. And it's just motivation TikTok literally playing in my ears. And it's like, I don't know. It's like a different level. I don't know. That's the way I got through it literally was that in the gym, like just gym, pushing myself, having a purpose to build something.
I completely relate. I mean, I use that as fuel. People like Goggins, and yes, Tate does have some very controversial opinions, but his ideas on discipline and showing up as a man to provide,
100%,
is like Jocko Willink, all those guys to just grit your teeth and just keep on trudging forward no matter what, because the alternative is you don't.
Yeah, literally.
That's for me. Even today was heavy. I just think maybe it's the season change, or maybe it's just the midterms coming up for me, or it's just the overworking myself, or maybe it's that childhood trauma that happened. There's all these reasons why I am feeling depleted, feeling like I'm not enough, feeling like I don't deserve the things that I do. And there's all these things. There's why I am feeling down. But do I want to hit a pause in my life and just not do the things that I'm doing? I'm not sick. I mean, my body is fine. It's capable of studying, of going to the gym, of doing this podcast, why don't I do it? Is because I'm feeling depleted? Because that, like Kevin Hart says this on his podcast with Joe Rogan. He goes, the sun's going to rise no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's going to set no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're crying in bed. It doesn't matter if you're feeling depleted. It doesn't matter if you absolutely crushed it in the gym or made some progress with your business. It's going to rise and set. It's going to rise and set. It doesn't wait for you. And you may view that as, wow, life is vicious. I don't want to be a part of this life. And you can hit give up. Then what? It's still going to rise and give up. Or you could go, this is the reality. I'm feeling this immense pain, this immense burden. And sure, maybe it's that lingering thought and it's a lot sometimes, but you still go and get things done. And there's a joke with Chris Rock, and women and children are the only beings in the world that are loved unconditionally.
Yeah.
The man is only loved under the conditions that he provides. And you know what? Like it's kind of true.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
It is kind of true on that one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in my premise, maybe in other people's relationships, maybe that's not the case. But certainly, I feel my role as a man is to provide, to be there for the people that I love, to protect them, right? And if I'm just being a whiny bitch, I don't know. I find I'm still in that mindset sometimes, but I can't let that be me because that's why when I hear weakness, man, when I sense it, I get this visceral reaction. It's like, oh, I find that really annoying when a guy is like bitching, complaining, because I see that in myself, you know?
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I can't do that. I remember, and it's like negative energy. Like when you're complaining and all this stuff, and you're down, your mind looks for more negative crap, and so it's like instead of focusing on the negative things, there's always negative things going on in somebody's life. And if there isn't, I mean, sometimes there isn't, but we're guaranteed to have a bad day in the future, no matter what, whether you like it or not, a bad day is going to come. And so you either can complain when really nothing's going wrong, or you can look on the positive side and be like, yeah, you know what? I'm healthy. I'm young. I have all this opportunity. I can get up. I can push myself. I can go to the gym. I can run. I can actually focus and work hard, and I have time, and use that to your advantage. Or you can sit there and be like, well, life's hard and whatever, when in reality, this is the easiest life has ever really been. It's just like, yes, there are hard things about it, right? Food's going up, everything's costing more, which is slightly annoying. And yes, it's hard, but you have the opportunity to make something for yourself and actually put yourself ahead. Because if you just give up, then you just kind of, what do you get out of giving up?
Nothing.
Like you literally get nothing, right?
It's the ultimate failure.
Yeah.
It's I'd even go as far as just everything in life is all about consistency and the fact that we're alive. And I like that thing you put in with your Baba, you said that a day, every day is a good day.
If you wake up breathing, it's a good day.
Dude, and we have surrounded ourselves with so much comfort that it's uncomfortable. And when our parents were growing up, they didn't have TikTok. There's no Instagram. There's no Uber Eats, Skip the Dishes, DoorDash. There's no pickup Walmart. You actually had to drive there and go in and select the items that you want. And to gain access to information, you actually had to do your own research. Now we got ChatGPT. Now we've got YouTube. So abundant in information. It's made us weak. And I see that in myself too. I mean, but it's scheduling the days of, okay, I need to actually schedule some time for discomfort so I can grow. I think, and that's kind of, the previous generations never had to do that.
No, because it was harder. But if you look at like any guy that's actually successful, even like they go through some, like they've gone through hardship. If you don't ever go through hardship, it's like, I don't know, you just stay comfortable. Like that's why I think, like, genuinely, as bad as it was last year that all that stuff happened, and I hate that it happened, but at the same time I can look at it as a positive and be like, it challenged me mentally and literally put me through a lot of hardship that has now helped me actually build myself into somebody that's even better and can grow through it. And so you see a lot of people that I remember this quote. It's easy times create weak men and hard times create strong men. And it makes sense, because if everything's just easy and chilling and whatever, and you don't have to do anything, why would you need to be strong and have a mentality that's like, I'm going to be the best and I'm going to try and win and try and do all this stuff, where it's like, well, I could just like chill out and do nothing. Like it, because you're able to, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of people think they are being buried, but they're actually being planted.
Oh yeah.
In the moment, it seems so suffocating with all this dirt on us, and we're being buried deeper and deeper. But what you find is once you arise, when you're actually out of it, by just not letting go, not taking your foot off the gas pedal and just going, that you'll actually arrive at that destination and you'll have your peace. But within that peace, it's not going to be forever. You're going to have to leave that place, travel again.
Oh yeah.
And it's just it's the cycle.
You got to be uncomfortable.
And even with, it doesn't matter how ahead you are in life, to how blessed you have in terms of attractiveness, in terms of wealth, in terms of IQ, cognitive horsepower. You will come to a point in life, maybe not in your 20s, maybe not in your 30s. And let's say you get through all of your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, let's say your family, everything just seemed to go well. People die. Like your loved ones will die, and you will die. You will get sick near the end. And
oh yeah.
The time comes where we're tested. And even a lot of the successful people out there, we revere them because of the hardship that they went through. And we do not revere the individuals that were just given millions of dollars, who are just, they seem to go through the system of nepotism and they were just given. But because we see the person struggling and eventually succeeding as us, because we're struggling, right? And then when you see that person, we go, that could be me.
Yeah.
And yes, that could be you, but you need to be able to put in the work.
Oh, 100%.
What advice would you give to someone who is currently experiencing grief and struggling to stay motivated?
I guess this would be advice to my previous self. It will end eventually. There's this one quote that in one of my favorite YouTube videos that I found, literally, it's been on, I think I found it like 11 years ago. And it says, pain is temporary. It may last a minute or an hour or a day or even a year, but eventually it will subside. and something else will take its place. If I quit, however, it will last forever. And so it comes back again to not quitting and not giving up, and continuously just showing up for yourself, and understand that, like, okay, you know what, bad stuff happens. I'm going to tell you this, that somewhere in the world somebody would trade places with you instantaneously. If you're complaining about, say there genuinely there's probably a 20-year-old or an 18-year-old that just found out that they got 6 months to live. They got 2 months to live. There's somebody that just got knocked on their door by the police that says, hey, your family was just in a crash and they just passed away. The whole family, right? So it's like, yes, there are a lot of hardships, but there are people that would trade places with you in an instant, just to have another day with their grandparents, have another day to have life, like a longer life, to be able to see, to be able to hear, like people lose their arms and stuff. Like it's pretty gruesome. It's pretty crazy that but it is the truth. Like the fact that, we can both see we're both healthy individuals. Like I saw that you were doing you were running there on your Snapchat or whatever. I saw that was pretty wild.
Yeah.
But like the fact that you're able, like you have the opportunity to push yourself to try and do that is incredible. And, if there's going to be weight on everybody's world, and just never give up, stay true to yourself. And eventually, you there's going to be a day where you're going to look back and you'll be like, I remember not knowing whether this was ever going to end. And then when it did, you're like, it's just like this uplifting feeling of like, hey, I can do anything and I can conquer the world.
Dude, that gives me goosebumps. Just pain is temporary.
Yeah.
Regret is eternity. And that just, there's so many beautiful, magnificent activities that we have been blessed with, that we get to do, that it's a privilege to go to the gym, is something that, as you said, somebody would trade places with. And it's the most soul-crushing feeling in the world, to want to run, to want to be healthy, but your body just can't.
Yeah.
It just, sometimes on Reddit, I like to search up what I'm feeling, just see if anybody else is feeling what I'm feeling.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, wow, my life's not that bad.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause, usually not feeling motivated. I just when this girl rejected me, or I got a bad grade, or there's an injury, and I feel like I'm going to grow up to, no matter how niche it is, I'm going to grow up to be lonely and injured and worthless. And you just put that on Reddit, see what pops up. And people have that same exact feelings, yet they actually have just terrible lives. And for some reason, it's just some of them too are just a lot more hopeful in those states. And they've talked about their past traumas and they're able to triumph. Somebody out there in the world has gone through exactly what you're feeling and triumphed from it. And then they advise that person, hey, I've gone through this. And then there's just some people who have given up and are hopeless. And you see that the people that aren't triumphant, they're the ones who are swimming in their soup of negativity. The people that do not see hope, that just lose their why. And then by going back to working out and seeing the person who you wanted to become physically, right? Oh, I want to be that person. And just by seeing kind of the habits, by observing them, okay, they go to the gym at that time. They seem to be here 4 or 5 times. They eat healthy. they don't seem to drink as much. They don't party. And then you see that in terms of happiness and how to succeed in life.
Yeah.
I talk to some old people and they just tell me, oh, just, yeah, consistency, stay with your friends and family, be thankful. And a lot of it is very just in front of us. It's like things you can do right now. Nobody's telling you to be happy, you need to be a millionaire. To be happy, you need to run hundreds of miles and be the most spectacular person in the room and have high status. It's simple. It's like, be present, work hard in the gym, like push yourself, find something you're passionate about. Just the cheesier the better. The more it's actually true, it seems. But yeah, dude, that's something that I've leveraged is gratitude. It's just
you gotta
having
be grateful,
that
man.
like having that lens, putting that on and seeing around and seeing the beauty into the day. Because you had mentioned earlier that that being around negative people and just thinking negatively, you're gonna look for the negative
100%,
things,
man.
And they all add up, and it's like, wow, my life is miserable.
Yeah, and then you feel all this weight and this big, it feels like the world is on top of you.
Yeah. And then the inverse is true. Positive, just you see all the world in positivity, and then it has to be rooted in truth, though.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, can't go about life and just saying lies to yourself. Like, you have a great relationship with your family, but
you gotta be real with yourself, and that was actually. Well, yeah, and actually, you know what? That was a big thing for me last year too, was I had to be real with myself. And I was like, am I happy with where I'm at? Am I happy with what I'm doing? Am I doing everything in my power to become better? And a lot of the things were no. So I changed them and I pushed it. And I mean, I continuously do this, but a big thing, going back to the grateful topic, last year, actually, yeah, you know what also got me through that time was, I would write down 5 things every morning that I was grateful for. And let me tell you, that is wild. Like, sit there and I wrote 5 things down. I'm grateful for family. I'm grateful for my health, right? Like my cat. I was grateful for my cat. It's something small, but it's true, right? Grateful for that. Grateful for all the opportunities. The fact that I have a roof over my head. It really kind of like narrows down this perspective of, that you can lose sight of. I feel like we can get caught up in this world and all the things we do have and forget that some people don't actually have this. Like, we have some people, we know some friends in the Dominican Republic, and my parents have a condo down there. So we've gone down there. And when I was like 8 years old, we went down there, I think, or 8 or 10, whatever. And I remember we went there. And so my parents met the waiter there, and he grew up in the Dominican, everything like that. And so they took us to his house. His house, I'm not joking, was the first one? The first one, I think, was probably a little bit bigger than this room. That was his house. The whole thing.
Wow. With kitchen.
The whole thing. Maybe it was 2 of these rooms.
Wow.
And no front door, no doors, no windows. Like, they were just holes. Like, the door was a hole and there was no like door to open and close and lock. You could just walk right in. And it's, when you're that young, you grow up in a house here, and you grow up with air conditioning and heating and everything like that. You can go get a pop whenever you want. You don't know what some people's lives are, and that is a total reality shift, because you look at it and you're like, whoa, like, okay, I am very lucky to have grown up in Canada alone, right? And it's actually kind of funny because he is he is he's one of the most like just I don't know. He seems like the most happiest person ever. He's just uplifting, have fun. Now he has a shoe shop and stuff like. But you'd hear what he'd do, man. Like my life, literally, his life was hop on a bus, go to Haiti. So it was like 4 hours on a bus or 6 hours on a bus or something. Go to the river, buy shoes from Haiti, get back on the bus, drive all the way back, and then sell them. So he'd do 16 hours on a bus plus an hour or 2 hours at the river buying shoes to then resell them. And now he's got a whole shoe shop. But like that was his, that's how he made his money. And it's like, I don't have to do
The
that.
irony is those people are happier.
Well, because they have less, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing is like we're so caught up in social media and everything and comparing ourselves with everybody and all that stuff. And it's just like you can get lost real quick.
I met this lady. Actually, she just messaged me on Facebook recently. I had gone to the Philippines for a couple weeks, and at the pier to go from Philippines has a bunch of islands. So you have to get we landed in Cebu, and to get to my home city, we needed to boat all the way there.
Okay.
It's called Ermok. And at the pier, there's these blind people that massage you, and you give them, it's like 100 pesos for an hour of their time. And that's $2.50, right? That's per hour. That's what they're making. And I'm sure it's like that's just them. They work for a bigger company. And I was talking to the lady, her name's Eva Glipa. And yeah, Eva was blind, and I just asked questions, and we started talking about the deeper stuff on life and her faith and what she had gone through. And she talked about when she was in her mid-20s, was it? She started getting blurred vision.
Yeah.
And she had gone to the doctors, and she found out that, she's going to go blind. And slowly over time, she had lost her vision more and more. And all on top of this, she had 3 kids. 3 kids, and apparently the husband wasn't as faithful, right? So going through all these things. And she eventually became blind, and her son just turned 18, died. And that was just hearing her story, talk about it. It was really heavy. And then the other son, who had recently turned 18 again, died. And then the second one is going through a just problem internally, and it wasn't all healthy. And she spoke of just her faith in God and her faith in life, and how she just never wants to stop because she trusts in the process. And that day, actually, I was complaining about when's this boat gonna come? It's really hot, and I just don't want to be here.
Yeah.
But I'm hungry. It's all these things. After talking to her on the boat back, or boat towards there, I did a thorough reflection of my life, and I went, maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here she was, happier than me, blind, with sons that have passed away. And she just sounded so beautiful, man. She seemed like such a kind-hearted person, and she didn't let life hold her back. She's got a job, and she still is there for her family, and still wants to do good in the world, from what it sounds like. That's just one person. And then there's a group of them.
Yeah.
And then they all have their stories. Could you imagine that, man? Going blind? Yeah. Could you, like one day you wake up and your vision is blurry. All the body dysmorphia at the gym that I've developed, and all that. Yeah. Like, when you go to a certain point at the gym, eventually, like, you start off and you gain that confidence, but then as you keep going, it's like, oh crap, I'm looking small. Even though
that was me this morning. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
I'm looking I'm not looking big, man.
Despite being in the 1% and
Literally.
knowing that, it's not rational. But yeah, it's just like, damn, I always think of her.
Yeah, it's wild. It's good to, it's good to meet people like that, and then it puts you really into perspective.
Yeah.
And you can kind of compare and be like, oh yeah, good point.
Life's not that bad.
Yeah, life is not that bad at all.
Yeah. Looking back, how has your experience with grief shaped your perspective on life, work, and success today?
How has it shaped
Hmm.
my life? Well, it was a hard time, and it showed me that I can push through it. So it kind of shaped my mind to just through all that. I think the biggest thing that I learned was just it kind of goes back to the same thing of just not giving up. Like, it's just having the confidence, and it's shaping that, through all the hardship and hurt and whatever you want to call it. It ends at some point. Anything that is hard now, I can look back and be like, it's actually not that hard compared to then. I got through that. I pushed through that. I figured it out. I can do it. It's shown me that I can do things when an obstacle arises. So that is about it for me, I think. Like, it just shaped everything like that.
Death comes to all of us.
Yeah, dude. One day, dude, everything around us one day will no longer be here. We're not going to be remembered for how much money we got. Like, yes, I want to be successful and make lots of money. I like cars. I want a cool car. I've gotten the opportunity to drive a lot of cool cars. It's addicting to that. But, we're not going to be remembered about that. So you got to just, everything around us, it's not that serious. Dude, nothing in this world is so serious, because one day it's all going to be gone. I worried so much about in my past what people thought about me. And I mean, I still struggle with it today, especially with creating content for social media. That is like my biggest thing that I'm working through right now is I'm trying to try not to perfect it. I got the lights, I got everything. I don't need anything more, and what made me realize with that was, before I was like, oh, I want better lighting. Oh, I want a better camera. Oh, I want this and this. Better camera. I worked in a business too, so it kind of was like a 50-50 thing. But now I have literally everything. And I caught myself. I'm like, oh, well, and then I was like, and then there was nothing. And I was like, oh, I need to just start. It's actually me. Like, I'm worried about what I need to stop worrying about what everybody's going to think, right? Am I going to look like a fool online talking about camera gear, which ironically is like the thing that I know a lot about and I have knowledge about it. And when people ask me questions about it, I talk about all this stuff, and it's just like, yeah, don't worry about what everybody's going to think, man. Nobody's paying attention half the time anyways.
They're worried about their own shit.
Yeah, dude. When somebody's doing something weird in the gym, okay, yeah, we might remember like it a little bit, but I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh yeah, that guy, he was an idiot, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. I was like, oh yeah, I remember
unless
this.
they were an asshole to you.
Yeah, 100%.
Which, if you're at the gym and you're working hard on yourself and you're trying to improve, respect. If you're doing it wrong, then somebody's going to correct you sooner or later. Go ask for help. And actually, it's compliment to the person that you do ask help.
100%.
This reminded me of a quote by Steve Jobs. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. And while sure, it's dope. I want to make lots of money too, and I get all the gains. It's all fleeting. It's all gonna end, good and bad, and it's just to be the happiest you can be. And not, and a lot of people may argue, oh, what about just doing heroin? And it's just long term fulfillments, my friend.
Yeah, not short term game.
Yeah. But definitely, if you got a week to live, why not?
Yeah.
Well,
If you got a week to live and you're like, screw it, let's try everything. Go right ahead. But
But even then, a lot of people that have a week to live don't even engage in the pleasures of just sheer dopamine. It's all usually connecting with family.
Well, that's
or
exactly it, right?
Tying up loose ends.
And I think that's too. It's like, especially with business and something that I like, you see a lot of people that have, grown and be successful in life. They talk about sacrifice and like, sacrifice short-term fun for long-term gain. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to go party every weekend. I'm going to stay in and read, or I'm going to study, and I'm going to work hard, or I'm going to work on my business, and it's stuff like that. And it's like, I like to travel. I want to travel more. I traveled quite a bit this year, actually, which is pretty wild. And a lot of it was for work too, which was extremely amazing, which, I remember saying that 2 years ago. I was like, oh, I want to travel for work. Started to do it. It was pretty slick. But my main thing right now is like build a big foundation, because like, man, if I'm living till I'm 80 years old, 30 isn't that old, 35 ain't that old, 40 still probably pretty young. I remember my Baba would tell me, she was 75, and she's like, yeah, 40, you're young. You're like a baby at 40. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm like, if I can just build right now, I got a lot of energy right now. I can stay up late and wake up and with 5 hours of sleep and still be productive throughout the next day. Why not do it and build a foundation now? Still have some fun, travel a little bit, whatever. But man, when I'm like 35, I want to be able to travel when I want to. Like if I just want to be like, oh yeah, next weekend I want to go wherever, I just want to be able to do it. And it's not so much of like the, I get what people say about like you see on Instagram, and it's like, oh yeah, they want a Rolls Royce and 14 other cars and a $5 million mansion in Dubai and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool. But like, I don't need that. I just want to be able to travel when I want to and have my fun car and an acreage. I'd love to have an acreage, a shop with my fun car and just the financial freedom to travel when I want to. Perfection. Like that, just life. I don't know. It just seems like a pretty relaxing life. But
I did. Thank you for coming in the long-term podcast.
Yeah, 100%, man.
If people want to work with you, if they just want to check out your work, where can they find you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is KS Media, and then I also have my personal Instagram, which is Kaden Sczesny. That's going to be where I'm going to be starting to post my like branding content, but like my personal brand stuff. And then you can also check out my website, kadenszesny.ca, and that's where my portfolio work is and everything like that. So,
yeah. And as always, to everyone listening and watching, there is a place for you in this chaotic world. Never lose hope, strengthen your faith, and keep it long term. Kaden Sczesny, everyone.
Peace.
Dope.